The following episode will contain spoilers. You have been warned.
You're listening to Cinema IRL, the podcast that throws you into the movie and asks the question, what would you do? It's Valentine's Day and he only has eyes for you. Unfortunately, he wants to kill you, so that won't work so well. Amber and Scott discuss this lover's murder fest after watching Heart Eyes. And now, Cinema IRL.
I wish I could switch places for just one day.
What would you do?
Put yourself in my shoes.
How do we handle this?
What would you do?
Put yourself in my position.
What would you do?
Now it's your turn.
Love, man. It's a killer.
Didn't see that bad joke coming. This episode, we are talking about Heart Eyes. When the Heart Eyes killer strikes Seattle, a pair of coworkers pulling overtime on Valentine's Day are mistaken for a couple by the elusive couple-hunting killer. Now they must spend the most romantic night of the year running for their lives. And run they did.
So much running.
This was a comedy movie, but with a good dose of humor thrown in.
It was a comedy with a good dose of humor thrown in?
Oh, did I say that?
I think you meant horror with a good dose of humor.
Yeah, that.
Yeah, it got really kind of messy there at the end. I don't know, man. That was a little...
What are you talking
A
about?
little stretching there with the whole, it's a throuple and all of this and that.
Well, it wasn't really. It was just that they kind of had a fan that they threw to the wolves and ultimately get framed to be the killer when he was indeed not really, really the killer.
And how did they capture him, and why did they want to bring her down, and why didn't they just kill them both when they had plenty of opportunity to? And
these are a lot of questions, and that's not what we do here.
that's exactly what we do here, actually.
Well,
we literally ask the questions, what would you do?
Well, no, you're asking a bunch of questions about the film. So what would you do?
I would kill them quicker.
Okay, so if you were the Heart Eyes killer, you're just saying you would hunt less, kill more? What are you saying?
Well, more like antagonize less, kill more.
Okay.
Like, you antagonize people, and that is... I mean, it couldn't be the more classic movie blunder to antagonize someone before you kill them, to give them the opportunity to turn the tables on you.
Yeah, it's almost like it was a formula.
Almost.
So we have our two main characters, Jay and, oh my gosh, I forgot her name already. What was her name? Okay, sorry, folks, we're not in the big leagues yet. And they basically are coworkers. Jay comes in at the last minute as consultant, and they are out supposedly on a working meeting. And the girl, and I'm trying to talk slowly here because I'm trying to research her name so I can actually have an intelligent conversation with you all. What is her name? Sorry, guys. Allie. Sorry. So Allie is not ready for love. She had a messy breakup. She's been stalking her ex-boyfriend online, and she kind of lets loose on the very nice, easygoing, easy on the eyes Jay. And he is the guy that kind of comes in at the last minute and is supposed to do some work with her. So she lets loose on him, and he promptly leaves, as any self-respecting person would. And as they're outside, she sees the boyfriend that she broke up with his new girl, and promptly plants a kiss on Jay.
Now let's make sure that we get this correct. It was actually the opposite order. They kissed, and then they saw she used it as an excuse later, but in the actual movie, they kissed, and then as they broke away from the kiss, you saw the other couple.
Yeah, I know that for editing purposes. They kissed, and then there was the explanation for the kiss. But when we saw the video later, she saw the car pull up with her ex. And
is that what they're saying? Is that why she kissed him?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That was the premise all along, is that she wanted to act like she had somebody when she saw her ex-boyfriend pull up in the car with his new girlfriend. And that's when Heart Eyes saw them.
I just thought she was being an HWW.
No, she was not being a hysterical white woman. So, yeah, have you ever been in a position where you felt, well, first of all, that you saw an ex with somebody new, and then did you feel compelled to act like everything was okay if it wasn't? Yes.
I mean, no, not really.
No?
I'm also the guy that somewhere has a picture of his ex-wife and his ex-fiance together. They weren't friends or anything. They just basically came together because of me. I'm not in the picture. But Knott's Berry Farm snapped a picture of the two. So
you've never seen an ex with a new honey?
Oh no, I have.
Okay.
I guess I think about it. I mean, I've been to exes' weddings, so yes.
Okay, a little bit different. So what I'm hearing here is Allie's situation of kind of cyber stalking her ex, even though she was the one to break up with him, and then equally wanting to feel like she needed to act as if she had moved on as well, since he clearly had. And that's when Hard Eyes saw them kiss and thought, oh, okay, I was here after basically her ex-boyfriend and the new girl, but you guys look like you got it going on a little bit more, so I'm going to come after you.
Yeah, and let me also make sure that one thing is perfectly clear. If you are the one that does the breaking up with, you're not allowed to complain about how quickly someone moves on.
Well, she did. And people do a lot of things they're not allowed to do.
Well, I'm just telling you, you're not allowed to.
Okay, you have a lot of people to talk to then.
Well, if you're the one broken up with, fine. But if you do the breaking up, man, that was your decision.
Yeah, but I think you can still be surprised if someone moves on really quickly, regardless if you're the breaker or the breakee. You break up with someone and then a couple weeks later or whatever, you see that they're already with someone, you can be like, oh, gee, wow, that was fast. Especially if your issue was maybe them not being willing to do certain things or act certain ways, and then you see them do that with someone else.
Well, you know what they say. The best way to get over someone is to get under someone.
Yeah.
Dun-dun-dun.
Yeah. So have you ever
Wouldn't work.
Have you ever been hunted by a serial killer?
Not to my knowledge.
I think you would know because you would run super slow. You would look over your shoulder a lot. You would all of a sudden lose your coordination and trip and fall on the ground. These are the main things that happen when you are hunted by a serial killer.
Yes. Let me get into some of the finer what would you do's on this movie,
Okay, how about it?
One that's particularly bugged me.
Okay.
So when they're getting back to Allie's building and she has to break a window to get in.
Oh, yeah, that was stupid.
Use your elbow.
Well, why don't you just call a neighbor or something? I mean, it's an apartment building. It's not a house. You don't need to break in. You can knock excessively. You can call a neighbor. You can scream up to someone's window. You do not need to break the French doors of your apartment building to get in. That was stupid.
Yes, but under the assumption that for whatever reason, that was the only way that she was going to be able to get in, use your elbow, not your hand.
This is where we get our breaking and entering tips.
Or your foot.
Okay, so anything you learn here, folks, please don't take it to the streets. Okay, what else do you have?
Yeah, if you get away from the hard ice killer, you're not like, we brought him here, we have to finish him. Hell no. You get the F out.
Yeah, it's definitely not a moment for doing the right thing. I think it's fair game to say you got to survive to tell the tale another day. And yeah, going in for the noble moment of we've got to finish what we started and save the entire city. That does not seem like a good move when you're dealing with a crazy serial killer.
Also, can you tell me what is the point to paying to go to a drive-in movie theater only to roll up, leave all the doors closed in your van, and just be in the back of the van fucking? That's it. You're not watching the movie. Why did you pay to come to the movie? You could have done that anywhere.
Wow. We've learned a lot about you in that statement.
Like,
so there's no value. We're not getting frisky here. We paid to see the movie.
It's okay to get somewhat frisky if you're in like some position where you could actually see the movie, or you at least started in a position to see the movie. They didn't.
The guy has a van with a mattress in the back. I think they're good to go pretty much anywhere.
But why spend the money on the movie?
You can't have him, ladies. He's
I'm not feeling like romance was real big on their radar. I think romance would be past the blunt.
Okay, well, they had a good time and very clearly were aiming to please each other. So I think that's what matters most. But I'm sorry they did not get the utmost value in their movie ticket. What else do you have?
I don't know, man. I don't know what else I have here.
Cinema talk at its finest here. I don't know the name of the main character, and Scott wants value at his drive-ins.
I mean, also, if you're running from a serial killer,
Okay. Or when you're running.
like, you are allowed to pretty much do whatever you need to do to get away from that serial killer, as long as you're not literally trying to sacrifice someone.
Oh, are you talking about that whole you ditched me thing?
Yeah, what the fuck?
Yeah, so both Allie and Jay are running for their lives. The serial killer is chasing them into a vacant botanical garden with a
Of course you run into the vacant botanical garden.
yeah, which strangely had a merry-go-round, which I did not understand that. And so he comes after Jay. Jay goes down for the count, hits his head on the concrete. There, you basically feel like he at that point he loses consciousness because he's died or he's severely injured, and she starts to run, as well she should. And then later on, things work out. They're reunited, and he was like, "You ditched me." Like, what?
The hell was I supposed to
What? Like, this isn't the time to administer first aid or...
do? These muscles aren't for violence, they're for cuddling.
That's true. I actually did like that. Jay was a very likable character, but that whole you ditch me thing I thought was kind of ridiculous, because when you are running from your life from someone with a sword of types and a crazy mask with heart eyes on it, you got to do what you got to do. And I think ditching is completely fair.
Also, what precinct in Seattle
Is that dark?
is that dark and has that few people?
Yeah, I was thinking that same thing. I thought, wow, that precinct was so dark. It was dark to even like have mood lighting at a romantic dinner. It was darker than that. That was ridiculous. And it's at that point we have to assume it's maybe, I don't know, 10 o'clock at night. Why aren't there perps at Seattle? Why isn't there hustle and bustle activity? There is no one in that place except for Allie and Jay and 3 cops, an IT guy, and that's it. And the rest of it is dark and abandoned. Seattle's a big city. That made no sense.
Yeah. And because I would generally think that if I'm in a police station, I'm safe.
Well, yeah, unless, spoiler alert, our killers are actually employees of the police department.
Yes.
That's no good.
Yeah, that does make it a little more difficult.
They really should have better screening up there, and Seattle do better.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, what kind of... They somehow passed the mental health part of the thing. Like, yep, I bet these people have the right disposition to be cops. These are going to be Seattle's finest.
So what would I do if I was Allie and I'd gone through a breakup and I thought love wasn't real? Love was an illusion. It's something that the majority of people don't really have. And then you meet the guy that just finally turns that feeling back on for you.
Mate, the one that floods your basement.
Yeah. Her friend did have a colorful use of words.
That was colorful.
Yeah. Well, and love, I think, saved the day and saved them, and they went on to bigger and better things, and the marriage proposal and all kinds of good things. So I guess, what would you do? You sometimes, regardless if you're hurt, if you experience the worst breakup, if you get divorced, if you just have a really bad date and you give up hope on who's out there, it's really on you to find the ability to open up your heart again for another chance. Because if you shut yourself down, it's truly not going to happen, and it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Looking for something is hard, but you have to be open to what might be.
It's true. Also, I just want to note the opening scene couple, like the ones who were proposing and all that. Mm-hmm. I was rooting for Hard Eyes. I was rooting for Hard Eyes. I was rooting for Hard Eyes to catch Bridezilla there.
Yeah, I didn't like either one of them either. It was a relief to see them die early in the film.
Yeah, it's I don't know. You shouldn't be rooting for the killer.
Yeah, don't
to start, and it's not so much that you wanted to see them die. You wanted to see her die painfully.
Okay, so now why do you say that? Because I know why I say that, but
she was like the personification of the word entitled.
Well, it sounded like, based on what I saw, I assumed that she basically wrote the proposal for him and gave it to him to offer.
Well, considering that she was mouthing the proposal along with him, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that was
what the actual F?
Yeah, and they had a photographer tucked away near a bush or a tree to film the moment to share on social media. Yeah, I know that's a thing nowadays, but I'm glad I'm not. I'm glad that's not my world.
Like, I'm okay with getting a photographer to get the moment and do something like that, but if you're like recreating moments and you're doing things like that, no, just
Well, if there is some glare. Sometimes there's sunspots. You got to recreate the moment.
figure that out beforehand. Don't.
So what I'm hearing from you is, what would you do? I would more closely vet the photographer that's filming my proposal to make sure that he has some reels to share, to make sure that there are no excuses and can capture the proposal the first time.
You know how much glare on pictures upsets me or has upset me in recent history.
Yeah, of course.
So
that was the what would you do is if you hire someone to to take pictures or videotape, make sure that they have a good reel and they know what they're doing.
Yeah, and don't write the proposal yourself unless you're the one proposing. Don't write it yourself.
We hope you enjoyed our episode. Thank you for listening. And to catch all the new episodes, please subscribe. We release 2 to 3 episodes weekly, so we'll have new content regularly. Until next time.